The most dangerous person in any situation isn't the one who knows the most. It's the one who understands what truly matters. Shaolin monks knew this better than anyone else, dedicating their lives to the pursuit of wisdom. Through meditation, study, and relentless self-inquiry, they developed a systematic approach to clarity that nobody could overcome. This method allowed them to navigate chaos with insight and face stress with unnerving composure. When you picture a Shaolin monk, what comes to mind? Stillness, perhaps. A body at rest but never slack. Eyes steady, movements precise. Words are rarer, but when they come, they land with weight. Not just patient, but perceptive. Not just calm, but clear. In our last video, we explored the patience of Shaolin monks and their ability to hold steady under pressure, to sit with discomfort without being ruled by it. But patience is just one pillar. Beneath it lies something deeper: wisdom. This video isn't about abstract enlightenment or mystical proverbs passed down from mountaintops. It's about the kind of wisdom that takes shape over time through experience, discipline, and honest self-reflection. The kind of wisdom that doesn't remove you from life, but roots you more fully in it. So what does it really mean to be wise like a Shaolin monk? When we hear the word wisdom, we often think of age, of someone older, perhaps quieter, with a long view of life. Sometimes we associate it with intelligence, as if knowing a great deal automatically makes someone wise. Other times we confuse it with experience, assuming that the longer someone has lived, the more they've learned. But wisdom is not guaranteed by time, knowledge, or experience alone. It is not simply about knowing more. It is about seeing clearly and choosing well. From a psychological perspective, wisdom involves integrating emotion, thought, and context. It means being able to hold complex or even contradictory ideas without becoming overwhelmed by them. At its core, wisdom is the ability to act in a way that aligns with long-term values, even when short-term emotions push in a different direction. Philosophers have a name for this: phronesis, or practical wisdom. It is not about abstract truths. It is about knowing what to do in this moment with these circumstances in a way that serves not only yourself, but the greater good. Buddhist traditions have long emphasized this form of wisdom, not as a possession, but as a practice. Insight in that context is not something you accumulate. It is something you cultivate through mindfulness, discipline, and compassionate awareness. Like patience, wisdom is not a trait you are born with. It is something you train for. If patience is the ability to pause, wisdom is what determines what you do with that pause. Modern research has tried to map what wisdom actually looks like in the mind. Across disciplines, three core elements emerge consistently. The first is metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. This includes being aware of your biases, recognizing when your judgment is clouded, and stepping back from automatic reactions to reflect on the bigger picture. The second is emotional regulation. Wisdom does not mean the absence of emotion. It means the capacity to navigate difficult or conflicting emotions without being consumed by them. A wise person still feels anger, fear, or sadness. But those feelings are filtered through intention, not reactivity. The third is perspective taking. This is the ability to see beyond your immediate needs, beyond your own story. It includes empathy, but it also involves zooming out and recognizing the broader context, other viewpoints, and the long-term consequences. Buddhist thought has emphasized these same foundations for centuries. It teaches that all things are impermanent, that clinging to fixed identities or outcomes is a source of suffering, and that freedom arises not through force or control, but through understanding the mind as it is. These teachings directly cultivate what modern psychology now studies through different language. Mindfulness practices develop metacognition by training attention and awareness of thought patterns without immediate judgment. Compassion practices support emotional regulation, allowing people to meet difficult feelings with kindness and clarity rather than suppression or overreaction. And the principle of non-attachment fosters perspective-taking by encouraging individuals to step back from ego-centered views and see themselves as part of a larger, interconnected whole. Wisdom, in both science and tradition, is not a single insight. It is a way of seeing that is clear, compassionate, and rooted in the present moment. In many ways, modern life is structured to work against wisdom. We are flooded with information but given little time or space to process it. Depth gives way to speed. Thoughtful reflection is replaced by rapid consumption. Algorithms reward novelty, not nuance, and our attention is pulled in a dozen directions before we finish a single thought. Social media especially encourages quick conclusions and public certainty. Complex questions are flattened into sound bites. Perspective becomes performance. The pressure to appear confident often outweighs the value of being careful or curious. In that environment, humility and doubt, which are both essential to wisdom, can seem like weaknesses. At the same time, constant busyness makes it hard to reflect at all. Between deadlines, distractions, and the drive to always be doing something, there's little opportunity to pause, step back, or ask deeper questions. The result is that many people become more efficient, more productive, even more intelligent, but not necessarily more wise. Wisdom depends on the ability to slow down, to weigh what really matters, and to respond with clarity. But when the pace of life demands constant motion, there is barely time to hear your own thoughts, let alone question them. So how do Shaolin monks avoid this trap? How do they maintain clear thinking and grounded insight in a world that pushes the opposite? To answer that, we have to look not just at what they believe, but at how they live and train. The wisdom of Shaolin monks does not arise from isolation alone. It is the product of a daily structure designed to cultivate clarity, not just in rare moments of insight, but in every action. Their lifestyle emphasizes silence and solitude, not as a retreat from life, but as a way to hear one's own mind more clearly. In silence, distractions fade. Thought patterns emerge. You begin to notice the stories you tell yourself and the emotions that drive your choices. This kind of inner dialogue is essential for metacognition and self-awareness. Just as important as mindful attention. In the Shaolin tradition, every action, from sweeping the floor to practicing a form, is treated as an opportunity to focus fully. Wisdom is sharpened by what you choose to notice. The more precisely you observe, the more clearly you see how your mind reacts to effort, discomfort, or uncertainty. Then there is ritual and repetition. Modern psychology shows that habits reduce cognitive load, freeing mental energy for higher-order thinking. The monks' structured routines serve a similar function. By reducing the noise of constant decision-making, they anchor themselves in values and intention. Repetition becomes not mindless, but mindful, a way to deepen practice through consistency. And of course, there is the physical discipline of martial training. In combat, you cannot afford self-deception. The wrong move teaches you instantly. This makes practice a mirror. Every mistake reveals something not just about your technique, but about your attention, your patience, and your clarity. Wisdom for the Shaolin monk is not reserved for deep philosophy. It is trained in the mundane, honed through repetition, proven under pressure. The monks train for clarity in every movement, every breath, every moment. But you don't need temple walls or a strict monastic routine to begin developing the same kind of wisdom. Wisdom is not confined to the profound. It's shaped in how you respond to ordinary experiences, especially the ones that challenge your comfort, your certainty, or your ego. And while the conditions may differ, the principles are the same. You can train for wisdom in everyday life. Here are 6 ways to begin. 1. Practice self-inquiry, not just self-improvement. Self-improvement asks, how can I get better? Wisdom starts with a different question. Why do I want to improve in the first place? Instead of always striving toward the next goal, pause and ask what values are guiding you. Are you acting from clarity or just chasing momentum? Reflection creates insight. Insight guides growth. Without it, effort can become directionless. 2. Embrace not knowing. Wise people are not the ones with all the answers. They are the ones comfortable holding questions. Cultivating wisdom means making peace with uncertainty. Practice saying, I don't know, without defensiveness. Let it become a doorway to deeper understanding, not a statement of failure. In Buddhist thought, this is part of beginner's mind, approaching each moment without the armor of assumptions. 3. Observe your inner narrator. We all have a running commentary in the mind. But thoughts are not facts, and the stories we tell ourselves are often distorted. Begin to notice the voice in your head. What patterns does it follow? What tone does it take? Meditation sharpens this awareness, but so does journaling or simply pausing when you feel triggered. By stepping back from your narrative, you create space to choose your response more wisely. 4. Seek the third perspective. When caught between 2 extremes, right or wrong, win or lose, act or retreat, try stepping outside the binary. Ask yourself, what would a wiser version of me see here? Or, What will this look like in 10 years? Wisdom often reveals itself in the ability to see beyond the present urgency, to hold multiple truths, and to act with context rather than certainty. 5. Become comfortable with being wrong. Wisdom requires humility, not performative humility, but the real kind. The kind that lets you admit when you're wrong without collapsing into shame or defensiveness. This isn't easy. The ego resists it, but growth depends on it. Every time you can say, I missed something, or I need to rethink this, you're training the mind to stay flexible and open. You're building resilience around uncertainty. Buddhist practice refers to this as non-attachment to views. The idea that clinging to being right is itself a form of suffering. When you become comfortable being wrong, you stop protecting an image and start pursuing truth. And that shift is where wisdom begins. 6. Create space before you decide. Wise decisions rarely come from urgency. One of the most powerful habits you can build is simply making space between stimulus and response. When you're faced with a difficult choice, a heated conversation, or an emotional trigger, step back. Physically if you can, mentally if you can't. Take a walk, take a breath, or set a decision deadline for tomorrow instead of now. That pause doesn't just prevent mistakes. It gives your deeper values time to surface. Wisdom often speaks quietly and it needs room to be heard. Wisdom isn't about retreating from the world. It's about re-entering it clearer, calmer, and more intentional than before. A Shaolin monk doesn't train to escape life. They train to face it without illusion, to see their thoughts without being ruled by them, to act without needing control. Their wisdom is not abstract, it is practical, embodied, and tested in the moment. If patience trains you to hold your ground, wisdom trains you to choose your path. You don't need to live in a monastery to begin. You don't need silence, robes, or rituals. But you do need space. Space to reflect, to question, to see what's driving you before you respond. That's where wisdom begins. Not in the answers, but in the willingness to pause and look honestly at what is in front of you. So when the world pushes you to react, speed up, or speak before thinking, try doing the opposite. Step back. Make space. Let clarity emerge before action. Because what makes a person wise is not how much they know, but how deliberately they move through what they don't.